Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry to take you off on your Sunday rest.
You've
This
given
is
us
good.
enough time.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, if you think about the topic of today, we can
Yes.
do with a lot more engagement than less.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
So
Definitely.
I'm not complaining. Chisanyama is our linda.
Is only
Yeah,
iyawuhlala ikhona yona.
exactly,
Iyawuhlala
exactly.
ikhona. All right. Mr. Sodongwana, how are you, sir? Are you based in Cape Town as well?
Yes, I am based in Cape Town, originally from the Eastern Cape, but I've been here since 1999. Yeah,
Okay.
you can safely say I'm a Cape
Okay.
Townian.
Yeah,
Hayi
that's
uyafana
wrong.
nami ndafika apho ngo-99.
Oh, is it?
These economic
Yes,
refugees.
yes. All right. Yeah. But I've now moved to Johannesburg.
Oh, you're based in Joburg. Oh, okay, that's great. That's great.
Migrant
Wabale,
labor. Migrant
migrant.
labor.
Yes, yes. I'm based
No,
in
that's
Joburg.
good.
Migrant
Yeah,
labor. Yes, yes.
yeah, no,
All
that's
right.
good.
I think we are ready to go. We're live now on YouTube, and I just need to welcome everybody who has joined us on this important conversation that we're going to be having today as part of a series of conversations that are intended to give insights and growth to many people, especially those of us who are coming from a disadvantaged background. There's a lot of information that we need in order to make proper decisions about many areas of our lives. And so, on this program, which we call a moment of insight and growth, we're here basically to cover a whole range of subjects, talking about finance, talking about career development, personal growth, family issues, men's issues. I mean, there's a lot that we talk about on this program, and we bring people that are knowledgeable in these subjects, either by experience or by work or learning or whatever the case may be. And I'd like to welcome you all who are joining us from the platform, from the YouTube platform. We are now, because we'd like people to use more this channel and for people to subscribe. Even my guests, if you're not subscribed yet, I'd like to invite you to please subscribe onto this channel. We want to grow the numbers so that we can impact more people. And by the way, let me just say, I know that Kukona Bandu who always like to talk about Kaiser Chiefs. On a day like this, I don't want to
Not,
talk about Kaiser Chiefs.
not today. Not today.
We can talk about Sundowns, we can talk about Pirates, but please, no Kaiser Chiefs. You're gonna hurt my heart if you talk about that today. Anyway, it's my pleasure today to really welcome our guests on this program, on this platform. People that are going to help us. And before I forget, I want to also just thank those people who have shared the poster and shared the invite to this meeting. I saw quite a number of shares. A lot of people are informing family members, telling them about this, and it's very, very important. I want to thank them and those that have spread the word of mouth. And I just want to
Mm.
thank all of you for doing that, because there are many of us who need to know this information. And so, to get guests for today, we have we've got Mr. Themba Mvusi Uputgaba, who is a veteran and a former senior executive in the financial services sector, who held quite senior positions in the sector. And now he has retired, but has a lot of passion for this kind of topic, but also to help, especially Black people, by sharing his experience on financial matters. Putgaba, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pat.
Sure. Thank you, sir. And then with him, I also have Mr. Vukile Sodlongwana, who serves as a financial advisor at Sanlam. These gentlemen will share with us empowering information, and especially to those of us who are still young or who feel young, or those of us who are feeling that we have not done enough preparation for retirement, not just from a financial perspective, but just also from a mental and just emotional perspective, because according to some of the stuff that I've read, many people sometimes are prepared financially, and soon after they retire, they simply fall sick or die, whatever the case may be, because they are not ready in their mind. They are not ready in their mindset and emotionally to handle a time of retirement. And so we are going to be talking about those aspects today, because we want to make sure that all of us are ready for that inevitable time, the time of having to retire. And some of us, we sometimes don't think that this time will come. We always look at it from afar, but it does come. And so let me just also hasten to mention that I'd like to make a disclaimer that this conversation is really for information sharing, and it's for educational purposes. It is not intended to give specific financial advice or promote specific financial products or services. And if a person who's watching or listening to this program would like such an advice, please approach a qualified or certified financial advisor so that you can be properly advised, taking into consideration your specific matters which you may be dealing with at the time. So without wasting any further time, Mr. Mvusi, this is your second time on this platform, and Mr. Sondlongwana, this is your first time. Just briefly tell us, let's start with you, Mr. Mvusi, briefly about your background, but also what made you interested in this topic today.
Yeah, excuse me. Those that perhaps were not with us, I'll be brief.
Yes.
I retired 2 years ago, having worked, as you said, in many companies in financial services, starting back in the mid-90s, companies like Southern Life, when it was still there, and then up until I retired as an executive director at Sanlam. Basically, one of the things, even when I was still an executive, I was passionate about was financial education. Some of us, as you know, where we come from financially and otherwise as Black people in this country, the whole financial planning thing is a learned experience, is something either you learnt it from your father and then, or your mother, and then, it rolls down. But with us, some of us, when our parents passed on, they left us with debt, have to do everything that you needed to do to bury, and so on. So whilst our white counterparts, they have that advantage, we don't. So therefore, for me, it was always important to bring the institution I worked for to the fore and then spread the word throughout the country, which is something I was very passionate about. Things like, I did mention the previous time, things like wills, avoiding dying interstate, the previous topic, Pat, because we're leaving a lot on the table as Black people, because we don't specify what should happen to our assets when we pass on. And even those that have complicated lives, I mean, some of you may know, it takes more than 10 years to wind up somebody's estate. And yet the needs don't wait for that eventually. So for me, this is very important to me, and indeed an honor and a privilege. Thanks for inviting me, Pat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that. And I'm sure we're going to glean and learn a lot from your long experience, both as a professional in this sector, but also just your own personal experience of having planned and prepared for this time or season of your life. Now, can I get to you, Mr. Dongwan?
Yes, Pat. First of all, thank you so much, man, for inviting me to this platform, and moreover, putting me with such a legend in the industry. Someone that I've learned so much from since my early ages of childhood. It's quite interesting and kind of intimidating that I get to introduce myself even after him, because a lot of times in all occasions that I've been with him, I'm the one who's always introducing him. I talk first, then he comes last, because you can see how he talks and how he carries himself. But it's an honor. And quick background is that I think I've been in the financial services whole my life, because without even telling you my age, but I started with the Bank of Transkei, which was a subsidiary of ABSA then, and later on it was MIG Bank. I think it was bought back by ABSA. I'm not sure if it still exists. So I've been there and worked in all the departments within the bank. And that's when my love for financial services, financial planning started from, because you would, as a teller, you would stand there, wait for the clients to come in, and you see all the different age groups, and you find your young ones coming to deposit, to withdraw, and then you also find the older retired people, especially talking about the Black people, coming to withdraw some money. And when you find out, you realize maybe someone has got something like 20,000 in the account, and this is all what he or she has. I mean, for the rest of his lifetime. And it became a bit of a concern for me, because, and at that time you mentioned about traveling and all that, because on the other hand, you see the same age group retirees, white counterparts traveling the world. And then you find the other race not traveling the world, but still trying to go back and get peace jobs and stuff like that, irrespective of what profession they were in. So trying to get his job, to get back to work and all that. So then your topic is very significant and very important that you bringing it up, and I'm hoping that there'll be follow-ups on that. So in a nutshell, then I joined the financial industry as a financial advisor, because I felt that there's a need for my contribution. Maybe this is my calling, coming into this world, that I should start doing something and focus. So it has been my focus since then. So yeah, you're right. I've worked with most of the big companies in the industry, but currently now, since 2006, I have been with the giant, which is Sanda. Yes, as a financial advisor. And I just had to say that because that's what it is. Now, my focus as a financial advisor is exactly one of the things that Mr. Mvusi mentioned, estate planning, because we tend to leave and forgetting that in the event that we pass away, we give our families good life while we're still alive. I'm talking about breadwinners. But in the event that you're not there, those families, they are left in debt because you never made provision for them. So those are the things that are focused in, and then mostly then retirement annuity, retirement planning. It has
Yeah.
become one of the core of my business.
Okay, okay. I now know why Mr. Mvusi was really recommending your name, because you've been on both sides, on the banking side, where you saw people coming in to ask for money that they had saved, but you saw that that money was not enough to keep them going. But on the now you're on the side of helping those kinds of people to be able to plan better. I really appreciate both of you for coming on today. I'd like to encourage
Thank you.
my YouTube viewers to please subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you subscribe, and then you can get also reminders. But also feel free to write your questions. I can see when the questions come through here, so that our guests can actually answer your questions. Now, just tell me about, or tell us about, your understanding of the state of retirement preparedness in South Africa today. What is that looking like? Has the situation become better? Because I remember reading that almost half of South Africans that were surveyed, which was 49%, in a report that came out in 2020, they admitted that they didn't have a retirement plan, right?
Mm,
And only
mm.
6 said they had a plan that they were sticking to. Do you think the situation is getting better, or the situation is getting worse? And from your understanding, what are the drivers, Mr. Mvus?
Excuse me, yeah. I think that it's getting worse. I mean, according to the Reserve Bank stats, for example, excuse me, the debt to disposable income for South African households rose. Before 94, it was just below 60%, and to the level around 75% now. You can do your sums. If you earn disposable income, which is your net income, around 30,000, for example, 22 and a half goes towards servicing debt, and you were left with only 7,500, to pay for day-to-day expenses. So, food, petrol, entertainment, Wi-Fi costs, you name it, telephone bills, and so on. And of course, if the interest rates go up, it means also the cost of debt also rises. So, there are problems, and some of the causes is what I call the demon of instant gratification.
Sure.
You want things now, and the blings, and hey, ngisebenze nzima, ake ngithi nje ukuzithi nje get bag your Louis Vuitton, which you don't afford, and so on and so on. I'm not bashing, but that's the problem that we should. So education, again, in South African citizens are forced to privatize some of the services that were meant to be provided by government. If you think about education, you leave, number of good private schools now is diminishing, and then people take their kids to private schools. Healthcare, the same thing, private hospital, security, moving into gated estates. You know that transport, public transport is a huge challenge in this country. So unfortunately, that eats into your disposable income, and therefore your ability to put away something for retirement is a lot difficult, And anyway, Vux is here, excuse me, who can help us with how. And if I may use myself as an example here, so that everybody understands, I will use myself as an example.
That's good. I think that's going to be very important, because people want to hear from live examples.
Yeah. And then for me, and the advice will come from the accredited fellow, in this instance, Uvugile. For me, I'll share. And if, I sound like, I don't know in which world does he come from, but I will just share my own experience. We
That's great.
more or less
That's
had, there are issues. For example, for us, we run quickly to issues like the black tax. It is a reality. I will not lie to you. Having to take care of the extended family, it's a problem. But it starts with us, guys. I made sure that when I retire, I do not become a burden to my children.
Sure.
Somebody is saying, yeah, easier said than done. But the point is, you have to try, by all means, to do your best now, because I didn't have it. My parents never left me with anything because there was very little or nothing, actually. And therefore, for me, if I can try putting away and not be selfish, putting away, some people say, I was born and others, they go on, for example, say, for me, it's important that I start with myself, and then hopefully it will trickle down. And then I started with some discipline way back, where you have to save for risk, in case you pass on, and then whoever is left behind, young family, they can be taken care of because you were the breadwinner and so on. Now you know more. And then later in life, I was advised that I think we've adequately taken care of the risk part. Let's move on to the saving side.
Okay.
But also the most important thing, guys, is try and reduce your debt. If there's one thing that's going to be the most costly item, is your property, the bond. Tackle that damn thing as much as you can early on. If you've got a little bit of a bonus, not Louis Vuitton store, into the bond, because a lot of people don't understand that, interest saved is as good as interest earned. I want to repeat that. If you save on the interest that you pay off, that is good as interest earned, right? And it's all tax-free. I mean, I don't understand why and of course the banks will come with these smart products. I can't remember now because I have been debt-free for years now. But that thing where you draw money against your bond or something,
Yes.
the term for it, I forget. I
Yes.
once did, but I quickly ditched it. Secondly, these balloon payments in motor cars, finance, it's a killer. If you cannot afford that BMW, don't buy it with a balloon payment. It's just my view, and I'm not an advisor here. I'm just telling you, try and avoid that.
Yes.
And live within your means. I know it's not easy. And then, like I said, chase that bond. Don't be trapped into drawing cash against it, unless you're leveraging it for something else. Like, for example,
income generating
business, you're diversifying and so on, and you're doing it early so that if something should go wrong, you still got some runway to rectify things. For me, as you approach 50s and thereabout, even Vooks and them, they will structure your portfolio such that they move away your assets from risky assets towards more of a balanced thing, safe, like fixed interest, like your bonds and cash and so on, than, for example, equities and stuff like that. I will never advise somebody, sorry, Pat, I'll never advise somebody who still has a bond to be chasing investments. That's just me. Don't go and buy stocks when you still have a bond. Put all your money there into that bond until you clear it. And then, of course, you can buy these other products folks will tell you about and so on. So that's basically how I structured my towards retirement.
Wow. Okay. And I'm sure you went to people like Vooks who are experts in this kind of thing. Vooks, just tell us from your perspective, how bad is the situation and what can people do? I see here that Sis Batolile has subscribed. Thank you so much, Sisi. I appreciate that. And thanks for the topic, which is often undermined. Nango umini Zwane, uthi naye very few South Africans understand how debt works and how to leverage debt to their advantage. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. Vooks, do you want to maybe chip in and comment? Take it wherever you want to take it.
Look, Mr. Mvusi said it very well, and
Yeah.
I think he's a nice case study. If I were if I were to say I was writing my thesis, I would definitely use his experience, because especially now that there's so much competition with the youth, there's so much competition in terms of how you look and where you eat, what you do, where, with whom. Then that's where this LVs comes in that he's talking about. And the second thing is he mentioned about the cars, but the challenge is that the question that we need to ask is that how do we strike that balance? That I am just qualified as a doctor. I'm mentioning that because I deal mostly a lot with them. I've just qualified, and now I am known that I am a doctor. The status says so, and therefore I cannot be seen driving a certain car, and I need to be driving this car. Now, the challenge that you're having as this, and remember, in class, all diverse. So your counterparts, straight out, first car that they buy will be your BMW. But now the difference is that between yourself as a black doctor and that white counterpart is that for them or others, not necessarily black, in fact, maybe a son of a child of Mr. Mvusi's in class, who has provided for himself, for his and the wife for retirement, and therefore not dependent on you. But when in your situation is that the moment you qualify, you've got your whole family literally relying on your income. You've got your whole family literally thinking that they're all doctors, and yet there's only one doctor in the family, and therefore wanting to live the lifestyle of a doctor. Exactly. That is the situation now. Now, as a financial advisor, I promise you, it becomes very difficult dealing with that situation, because you want to maintain this lifestyle. And now here's a bank. A lot of banks, once you qualify, not necessarily once you get that degree, for your degree, honors, and all that, the banks are watching you. They see what is going on in your account. They see your qualifications. They are happen to get to know in terms of your qualification. Now they start offering you your credit card. They started different credit cards, and it's exciting because when I would say we go up, I'm talking about the youth now. When you go out to this restaurant, to this nice nightclub, you want to pay, but you don't want to pay with any other card, but you want to use a black card, and that comes with a lot of cost. I mean, like paying with a savings card, for example, for a meal. Okay, whether a bill of 1,000 rand, I'm just making an example. Paying for that and paying with a black card. What benefit are you getting from where you're buying from? You with me? From that club, you're not getting any benefit. The fact is that whoever you're paying, all what they want is their money. What card you're using, it doesn't matter to them. But we do that for what we're doing, and you're spending the same money. But now the other card comes with a lot of cost per month. So that's another thing that adds in terms of, because Gaba mentioned but talked about budgeting, mentioned Wi-Fi and everything else, but included that we tend not to look at other bank costs that we're paying on a monthly basis. We overlook that. And I was sitting with a client only 3 weeks ago, and when we went through her bank statements, we realized that she's paying more than 650 on bank charges per month. And yes, I mean, like, now that's where we needed to start to remove that. Even if it means, if you feel like you are in a tight situation, remove those costs. You can even downgrade even your account. But the important thing is that you'll be able to pay. You'll have money rather than having too much cost on the money that you have. So going back to the main question, the
Yeah.
seriousness of it is that the biggest challenge with retirement, sorry, is that when you're 30, you're thinking I'll retire at 70, and that's in 40 years' time. So I still
Yeah.
have time.
Yeah.
By the time you wake up, you haven't saved and you are 50 now.
Mm.
And voila, the legislation then maybe says everybody must retire at 55, at
Yeah.
60. Because now, if you look at what is happening now, even 35 and above is difficult to get employment. Now, tell me, if you were retrenched at 35, and but you never saved from the age of 20 when you started working, what's going to happen? So
Mm.
Mr. Vusi made it quite correct when he said you need to start very early in terms of
Mm.
your saving. And he made these four components of financial planning. That is, you start with the risk because you're protecting the income that you're earning. And then
Mm.
secondly, you look at after protecting the income, talking about the people that in the event that you're no longer there, what happens? That's what I
Mm.
mentioned earlier on in terms of estate planning. And
Yeah.
then it becomes very, very important to say, okay, fine, wait. What happens if I live longer and I don't die? And then what do I have? But now here's what is interesting that I always get positive feedback from the youth, to be specific. Because when you look at retirement, I always say don't look at it as necessarily retirement.
Mm.
Look at the tax deductions that you get from making that provision. Because
Yeah.
every year, for instance, if you having your own pension provision in a form of a retirement annuity, so what
Yeah.
happens there? The government, the receiver of revenue, subsidizes that
Mm.
30 to 35% of your contributions. When you submit your tax returns, you get that back, similar to your medical aid. So I always say,
Mm.
look at that as a ways of savings because you're going to get that on a yearly basis, depending
Mm.
on how much
Mm.
you're contributing. So
Mm.
that's how I get to encourage them. But I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy because of like we all agree, based on
Mm.
the social challenges that you want not to be seen like that, and therefore you rather not save for that. And
Mm.
the last part that I want to say is that what makes it so challenging. Remember last year, for instance, we were hit by COVID,
Yeah.
and a lot
Yeah.
of companies closed down, and people were retrenched, and petrol's going up, and all those things. Food
Hey,
is going up. So
electricity.
when the costs
Electricity
go
prices.
high,
Mm.
exactly as costs go high, the tighter it becomes for all individuals. When that becomes tighter, the first thing that people think of, okay, out of my policies, which one do I cancel?
Mm.
And of those policies, the order is okay, fine. Let me start with the pension provision, which is retirement. You cancel
Mm.
that, and therefore you don't have it. See, these are the challenges that people are having, and
Mm.
go back again. It all what it requires is discipline.
Okay. We're gonna
Just
get.
on
Okay.
that
Go
point,
ahead.
just that point,
Go ahead.
we know, guys, and if you've done it and you're on this platform, please don't do it. Discourage everyone. The people that resign from their jobs for no other reason but to access their pension fund,
Mm.
once
Mm.
at death, whatever. I'm telling you, don't do it because you want to just buy this motor car and then you end up, without any. Because if there were those that are in formal employment,
Mm.
like I was lucky because I never had to go and put away for retirement. It was forced on me
It was
by
part of the
because
package. Mm.
exactly they take it away. Can you imagine if the burden was on me to write a
Mm.
check every month to give to the pension fund? It wasn't going to happen. So they
Mm.
take it away, and then come bonus time, I used to say, let's take the maximum allowable that can be taken towards the pension fund. It just goes there. And the
Mm.
power of compound interest, that's
Mm.
something very important.
Mm.
Interest upon interest. You'll be
Mm.
surprised what you get at the end of the day. So,
Mm.
so let's try. I know, dinengxaki, akho ngxaki imoto,
Mm.
uyana lapha eDubai awunamali, but now you no, guys, please, please,
Mm.
please, please leave that pension there. That's why the government has gone on to say, even when you change jobs, because yes, we will change jobs, you don't have to take it from that pension fund. It can remain there. You can go and work at World and leave it at Sanlam if you worked at Sanlam or wherever. It's okay there, because government is trying to remove the majority of us away from the state burden of this to be a burden on the state. In other words, to sufficiently provide for retirement so that we don't go and clog the SASA, infrastructure. It's that one is meant for the poorest of the poor. Some of us that are able to get onto this platform and are working and so on. And by the way, I'm sure Vux will talk about the self-employed, because that's where now the discipline is needed, because now there's no boss or employer that takes it away from you before you
you're self-employed. Yes,
you have to do it yourself. That requires a lot of discipline. Sorry, I wanted to make that.
No. I think this is fascinating stuff, and I'm learning a lot, because as you said, many of us grew up. We didn't have these kinds of conversations in our homes. We never knew anything about retirement, annuity, pension. All we knew was our grandfathers and mothers going of money in the order and so on, and we thought that it was going to be like that. I'm going to come to my colleague's question here, Valerie Naika. She just sent the question, but before I get to that question, I just want to understand what is the ideal formula of retirement. So when we talk, for example, about a comfortable life or a good space to be, what does that mean actually when a person is retired? And then Valerie has asked this question. It says, very interesting topic, PK. PK is me again at work. My question is, what is a reasonable rate of return on investment, on retirement investment post-COVID, given the state of the economy? So guys, you heard my first question. Try and weave through what Valerie is asking here as well.
To start with that one, and this is my personal experience again. People like Vux and the advisors and my advisor, they would come to you doing this estate planning and whatever for you. And then what's nice about this, Pat, is that they ask you, how much do you want to have every month post-retirement? They've got nicer words than I'm using, but I'm simplifying it.
We like the simple language.
So if you say, I need 50,000, I'm just throwing a number. That is you, Moss. It's your wish. It's nobody forces it on you. You say, I will need 50. Then they do their analysis to say what's already in your kitty in a form of investments and so on, that will hopefully yield or give that 50,000 a month going forward post-retirement. Once you give that, it's your wish, you want, this is what you want, then they say, there's a shortfall here. I think what we are paying per month, let's say whatever the amount, there's a shortfall, and this is the gap. I propose we do A, B, C, and D to close that gap. So it's up to you. If you say now that gap, you are, then I'm not going to be able to go and, it's too much. Then bring down this ideal state of affairs that you think, then 50,000 must become 30. If you understand what I'm saying. And we all know that, 30, and we're different. Somebody maybe can make it with 30. A lot of people, by the way, they have no choice. They have, even situation it is what it is. Some people just spend the entire wages on transport these days. I mean, with the cost of fuel and everything. I'm talking people that commute using taxis and so on. It's really, really, really terrible. So that is then Vux, they do the plan for you, and then they say, let's buy these. And I know that because insurance, if I use insurance or saving, it's a grudge purchase, especially when it comes to risk. You're buying something that you don't know if you're going to need it until you need it. Right? Think about now, the hopeless situation that our people in KZN are facing, and everywhere else, where now you're retired and you think, man, let me cancel this policy because I don't think my house, I mean, I've been living here for 50 years, what's going to happen? And then there's a natural disaster. There's no way, if you're a retiree in KZN and your house was mowed down by the waters there, you'll ever recover. That's it. It's gone. That's how bad it is. So other people may be younger, then they'll be able to, recover.
To pull back again.
Exactly. So yeah. And then on Valerie's question, maybe Vux has got a better answer than myself, but basically I'll give a generic thing because I don't quite understand why post-COVID, what it means. But basically, we all contribute to a pension fund, if and then the trustees will employ asset managers to manage the money, and then on behalf of the members. But basically, the rule of thumb is they'll give the asset manager a mandate, and then this mandate is inflation plus whatever. I'm just giving, So therefore, as long as your savings or whatever you put away is more than the rate of inflation, basically, because the inflation, as we know, erodes the power of the money. So if your returns are below inflation, you're actually going the other direction, So basically you have to. So post, let's say, risk-adjusted returns above inflation, it can be anything, even if it's single digits. It depends on a particular cycle in the economy. But if you get double digits, it's, Right. So I hope I got your question. If I haven't, Vux may add, or she can re-ask, and then we can help her.
Okay, Vux?
Actually, yeah. You've answered well, because what happens is that, just to quick, when we're doing investment, like you mentioned, one of the roles of the advisor is to, based on your risk profile, that is whether you're aggressive or moderate aggressive or a cautious person, but depending on the age as well. So we always look at the funds that are more or less have been performing in the past, say, 3 years, and currently 3 years, though that does not necessarily guarantee the future performance. So those funds have got different rates that are based on their performance in the previous year. So that might be 10%, while some will be 13%. So we can't give an exact rate in terms of how much rate retirement annuity is, because it does not have its own rate, but the funds that we use to invest in, like your cash, your bonds, like it has been mentioned, equities and all that. So that's what is happening now. To question the next question, I'm not sure it was Tembisile, but is it the right time to save when invest for retirement and when you're 50? Actually,
when you're 50,
it's yes. I mentioned that earlier on. It is a right time, not a perfect time, but it is a right time if we late. But now, what I like about it, you need to sit with financial advisor there, because at that time you realize that your children are old and maybe have already started working, and there's certain expenses that you don't really need at home, which you can use that money and channel it towards retirement annuity. I mean, retirement provision. Like for instance, if you are saving for, some people, I find them still having money that they saved for education plan, and yet the children are already, and some are saving. I've got high premiums that are paying towards a life cover, and at that time, maybe in your bond you are left with, say, 300,000. I'm just making an example. If you're still paying your bond, you're left with something like 300,000 to 500,000, but you've got a cover of, say, 4 million. But now the question is, at this current time, do you need that 4 million of a life cover, considering that your children are already working, they're not dependent on you and all that? So isn't it the right time now to start channeling some of your expenses towards your retirement? So it is the right time, and a very crucial time as well.
Okay. I think I think people are getting answers to their questions. I see Valerie is saying that as well here. The the question that I want to ask is what what how do we inculcate the culture of saving among people, especially those who just have jobs, who do not have like inheritance or
Mm,
money left over? How do we
mm,
really build this culture of looking at issues like saving, retirements, and what can people do to start? Let's say a person is saying, I'm 40, I've been partying, I've been driving around, flying, buying all of these things. But now I realize that the time is coming. And what do we do to educate such a person? Where can they start?
My take, Pat, is first of all, we could, I would like us to encourage, for example, the Stockfells, which are there. Our people, I mean, if you think about some other people are domestics, so they're not earning a lot of money. But now, for example, a Stockfell could be a good start. However, what I've been encouraging, even the company I used to work for before I retired, was to, try and convince the members of the Stockfell not to just put away for groceries in December.
Yay.
Yes, that is important for groceries and eating. I mean, how much jelly? I mean, eat jelly and a custard. I mean, really, you can do that, But if Obo Vux can come and say a portion of that monthly collection goes towards some form of endowment policy or something, or even the thing about the taking your kids to school or something like that. If we could develop things, but it's got to be inculcated. People must understand, move away from wanting to see those stacks and stacks of rice, and all those teen stuff and whatever. If it's part of the culture, yes, I respect that. But I'm just arguing that if it's, let's say, you're splitting, I don't know how it works properly,
Yeah.
but like you get 50,000 or it's your 10 to get
Yeah.
one big 200,000. What do you do with that? Vux and them, they'll tell you that they do have single premium policies where you put away. Think about the people that entertain us, Pet. People that play football. You mentioned the teams that played and the one you didn't want to be mentioned, but we know how these guys entertain us every afternoon in our homes, and yet some of them die destitute. The music, whatever, film, movie, and they lead a glamorous lifestyle, which is not true, by the way. It's the merchants that give the impression that football so and so is driving an Aston Martin. Yes, maybe he does, but wait until his knee is gone, and then that Aston Martin is gone as well. So for me, that's part of the risk provision. Then So I think people can start small. Never doubt. Konalanto 80 embovaneni vilandini. Alone. Beka uzobona wena. How much, put it away, forget it, or let it be taken away from you. Like, for example, you say to the trustees of the Stockfell, okay, if I'm due X, give me 2/3 of my takings, and then the third goes towards buying financial instruments. I'm sure Vux can add there. I don't know. I'll pause.
Okay. Vux.
look, that's true. I just forgot to now who's this, but I got his quote that you start paying yourself before you do anything from your income. And paying yourself does not mean buy yourself something. It means invest, put something aside. So that way you're paying yourself. That is before you even pay any other thing. But the challenge that when you start working that we have, or the people have, is that you want to save what is left. You first plan what is needed to be paid with this income. you've got your 20,000 rand income that is net, and then out of that you look at all the expenses that includes this big car, all the expenses, and then you try to find out what is left. There's nothing that is going to be left for you to save, because money will never be enough. The more you get, the more you want. So as soon as you get that money, the first thing that you need to do is to put something aside, you as a means of thanking yourself, that is safe. But that doesn't happen. That does not happen because we first, like for example, I think it would be very interesting if with companies, with employers, I'm not saying it would be right for everyone, but I'm just thinking out loud. For instance, in terms of, she mentioned pension, it's a prerequisite that when you getting employed, amongst your benefits from your income, there's a pension deduction, there's a death, group life deduction. So if we could, that forces you to take care of such. But now there's nothing that says in the event that, in fact, for your savings in 5 years time, or how much you'll be having from your income, okay, fine, we're going to deduct 200 rands, for example, because that has allowed people to get into the culture of saving for retirement, putting aside something, in terms of something happens to me, there's a risk that is, I mean, to pay for, to cover my risk. But there's nothing like that. But as much as people don't like that, are uncomfortable with that because they feel like they've been controlled with their money, but it's very important. You can only find that it has been useful when you reap the rewards. Like for instance, you lose the loved one, and then when that big check comes in, then you start realizing that, okay, the benefits are quite huge. It was important. Like for instance, Mr. Timon, I can think and assume when he was in his early 20s, started working, looking how he looks like, and I can imagine when he was in his 20s how he looked like. In terms of wanting to show who he is and all that, if it wasn't for the fact that he was brought into or forced into this culture of saving for pension, chances are he wouldn't be where he is. But he immediately took the challenge and those deductions and embraced them, and then grew up within that culture. So that's the problem that is having, to answer your question, that we need to start savings at an early age. Like for instance, I'll give you one silly example that we always talk about when you're having this Boss Barat as financial advisors. One of the things that we always hear talking about culture is that it's very interesting that with the white counterparts, the first birthday present, when a child turns 1, you'll find that most of them, they buy them pension, retirement annuity. And you ask yourself, why retirement annuity? You're not even working. But they buy them with a very small amount. It goes back to what Mr. Mvusi mentioned, the power of the compound interest. Because you can imagine by that time the child retires. I mean, that's the best thing that you can give to your child, rather than that 20,000 that you spend on a party of a first year birthday. The child does not even know what is going on, what is happening. The people who are enjoying this,
only pictures. He always see pictures.
Yeah, well, that's all you see in the videos. But when you put that money, that 20,000 away for even if that's all what you put in, that you are going to spend there, you put it there, and you're giving your child, my child, this is what I gave you when you were 20. I mean, when you're turning 1. So we're not having that savings culture. That is, I think that is the biggest problem, because all what we have is wanting to show off.
Yeah. I think so far we've covered quite a whole lot of ground about the problems that we are facing. I think the one issue that Oput mentioned was the whole issue of I think you called it the demon of instant gratification, and this, and then when Vux, you mentioned things like competition, where we compete with friends and so on, and but I think solutions have come through as well in terms of what we can do. Now, I want to find out something. We've got life covers, we've got death covers. How many death covers are enough, or life covers enough? Because sometimes you go to the bank and the bank gives you a life cover. You go to the insurance, a death cover, and so on. So can you just give us an idea as to, is it advisable to have multiple death covers from various companies?
If a bank gives you a bank cover, it's because it's given you a loan.
Yeah.
You bought an expensive car or you bought an expensive house, and then in case you die, they want that house repaid or that car repaid. So that's why you may end up with multiple life covers. So that if those are not like you went out, then UVUX can say to you, okay, they look at your circumstances, family, how many, whatever, and then the simple question that's being answered: how much can your family live on if something nasty were to happen to you? Because you are the breadwinner. So how much? And then based on that, if then the life cover amounts to X, then that is what's required. Then you see what I'm trying to say. But my personal view is that don't give in to pressures from an insurance rep chasing you for a life cover, and then they pester you until you must understand the full package. They need to do an assessment. Actually, the mis-selling, folks will know, the regulators have come up hard on this. That's why they've done away with the upfront commission, and they are paid as and when, because the upfront commission led to this mis-selling where you want to sell in order to earn a commission and run
commission.
Exactly. So my idea is that you still need to sit with VUX or somebody like VUX, and then they look at your circumstances. Do you have parents that you have to look after? And by the way, one thing we mustn't forget, it starts with us guys on this platform. If we don't save enough, we're going to be forced to go and live and move in with our children. And then as soon as we do that, they cannot also put away for their own retirement because they're carrying you, and therefore, and then it becomes a vicious cycle. That's the problem. If you've seen that video of the Bushmen, how they lived, because they were always nomads, they are moving all over the place. And then when you're an old man like me, then they catch this big beast, and then they cut you maybe a piece in the leg of the beast and a knife under a tree, and they leave you there. They move on, and then you eat that meat until you die because they can't carry dead wood. It's survival out there. You see what I'm saying?
It's a life issue. It's a life principle.
Exactly.
Yep.
So therefore, if we can do our best as we are on this platform and many platforms, I can sit. Even if you said next Sunday, let's have another one, I'll come because I'm very evangelical about this thing. Let's try and not be burdensome on our children, and let's try and make sure they also are able to build their own futures, and we live long these days, eh? If I remember my father when he was my age, he looked very old, man. So if I haven't put away enough, I'm going to be in trouble if I live until 90. You see what I'm trying to say? So, and then also the last point I don't want to forget here, that we always, and I know it through my own experience, post-retirement medical costs. Because remember, your medical aid is taking care of you. You're working, you're on vitality, you're on fed health, you're on whatever. But now you're not earning income. And as you grow old with your wife, the cost of
your
health, and you probably don't want to be rotting, in a public hospital if you can. So the cost there, they can wipe out your entire retirement savings, So those are some of the things. It's not a scary discussion. It sounds morbid and whatever, but it's just a reality, guys.
It's a reality.
Yeah, it is a reality.
Yeah.
True.
True.
Yes, sir.
Let me. I'm looking at your time. Let me quickly answer that question that you asked about how much life covers or how many do you need death covers. Look,
Yeah.
It's very important because sometimes you buy that property from the bank, you get that bond, and then by the time you get it, you already have a life cover with your insurance company most of the time. That's what I find. But people
Yeah.
tend to just listen to what they're getting for. They're desperate for the house. The house, the bond has been approved, and then you're excited. The rest of the things you don't even think. Then they tell you, okay, fine, you need a life cover, and then you take that one, forgetting that you also have one with your
Yeah.
other company that you can see. So it's important
Mm.
that when you get to that stage, you always bring your financial advisor into play. Here, say, listen,
Mm.
this is what is being required. I'm buying this property, and this is what is being required. Is my life
Mm.
cover enough? Should I take more
Mm.
from the bank that they're offering me? Then
Mm.
you have that discussion. That way, you won't find yourself over insuring yourself.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very
Mm.
good.
Yeah, I think that's important because
Yeah.
sometimes it's also funeral covers and things like that. You find that a person has all sorts of funeral covers, 100 rand there, 200 rand there, that is going away. And so now we are fast approaching the end of our conversation. Gaba, now let's talk about the mental aspects of this. And just how do you do that? And I mean, sometimes you've got a family, you anticipate that it's Monday tomorrow. I'm not gonna go up and sit in a meeting or do this. How do you prepare mentally, and how do you prepare so that you've got something to do that's meaningful beyond this time of retirement or during retirement?
Yeah. I think long before it approaches, I mean, you know, for me, when I turned 60, I thought I was going to leave, but then they asked me to stay on
Mm.
for another 5 years. And then when that 5 years came, they said, "Hey, man, can you give us another two?" I said, "No, no, 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 no. Now I'm out of here. I've had my innings. Let younger people bring in new ideas." But for me, I prepared myself well. I'm talking mentally
Yeah.
that at some point, and through my own networks,
Mm.
and I'm not arguing, Pet, for one moment that we all will be privileged.
Yeah.
And for example, I serve on 4 boards now,
Mhm.
Mm.
which from an income point of view, it helps a little bit, but
Mm.
mentally, other people, they think, because we tend to define ourselves, through the jobs and the importance that we carried. You have a PA that's, everybody's doing this for you. And then a sudden, the boom, your
Mm.
calls are not returned because you're less important,
Mm.
So, but for me, I refuse to just be, first of all, it's just, it's just about me, and all these other things are borrowed things, they will
Mm.
come to an end. and
Mm.
and therefore, for example, I once worked in an entity where I got an allowance, an extra than my peers were being paid. I never
Mm.
regarded myself as living on this. This one was just going to
Mm.
be in savings, and then I lead my life based on
Normal
what
way.
I can fall back onto. For
Mm.
example, on this platform, the politicians, they know that you're a counselor. You'll go to be a counselor for 5 years, and then
Mm.
after that, then what? So therefore, you've got to make sure that you ready yourself for the eventuality. What other things? What else must you learn? New skills? What do you go to
Mm.
your church and offer yourself, an NGO, and be more helpful there? And probably some people do. Check, for example, Amakosa
Mm.
in church. They're
Mhm.
not paid, but it's such a prestigious thing. Bangate babulala nengubukosa, and so on. So if that helps you, then maybe that's where you must, But
Let's go.
for me, mentally, I was ready, and I don't want anything. I don't wake up before 9 o'clock. Don't phone me
Mm.
before 9. My phone is off, and then I
Mm.
decide. And there's something called the freedom of time. That's
Yeah.
one thing I like, guys. Now I
Mm.
know what I want to do with my time. I want to travel. If it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't be
Mm.
here. But
Mm.
So just be ready for it, and also share with your spouse, because there's going to be a drop in income. Let everybody be prepared for it.
Yeah.
And if both of you are working, synchronize it nicely, that if you're going to retire, other people are forced, early retirement due to ill health or whatever. How are we going to rebalance and then what do you do? What do you call that thing, where you downsize, for example?
Yeah.
Live in this massive house. Now you have to move to a 2-bedroom apartment or a garden cottage there. You've got to prepare yourself for that, And if it wasn't forced circumstances on you, or like, for example, ill health or something, but if it's you chose your path, try and live with those consequences. But I'm saying, ready yourself, discuss it with your family, and let everybody know that, okay. And you can be lonely as well, because if you the one that's behind, or that remains behind, and your wife goes to work, now we are
Hey, what am I gonna do?
and you're going to end up into funny things up in Pakatini, rather that try, for example, one of the things I'm passionate about is cleanliness, rubbish and dumping. And that's something I'd like to do, hire a bucky in a Lokshini and grab 3-4 guys, buy them gloves, slogan where the municipality has not picked up, we just clean around, But that the day is gone, and then I can go and play golf. Other people don't, and also my last warning, don't your last money or whatever into something you do not understand how money is made. Don't take your little bit and go into a restaurant. Vux knows I'm a friend with Marco here in Cape Town. I'll never now say, hey, Marcos, COVID must have hit you hard. Can I put in and buy 30% stake? I don't know how much it costs to buy an onion, and there I'm invested there. And others go and buy taxis, and they get their brains blown away because now there's a taxi war. Try and stick to what you understand and make use of yourself in that space. That for me is the best solution.
Yeah.
Look,
Books,
from my side, yes, from everything that is said, but I think from my side, what I like about it, what I'm learning about mental preparedness is that just the process of annually sitting, reviewing your portfolio with your financial advisor, somehow it is getting you there. You started this process at the age of say worst case scenario, you started the process at the age of 30, and then meaning that every year you're sitting with this guy because you review saying, okay, your financial circumstances, income has changed and stuff like that. Yes, okay, but we need to increase your RA because this is how much you need to earn at retirement, because this is what you require. But as time gets closer, then at 50, you're starting to say, hey, this is a reality. This thing is coming close now. I'll retire when I'm 65, and you're left with 15 years. Now the conversation is becoming too intense. So somehow that prepares you mentally. I'm just giving you another aspect now of preparing you, besides what Mr. Mvuse has shared. That is also preparing you mentally, that now you're getting closer to retirement. I started this, and the money that you're looking at, how much it has grown, how much is available or will be available when I retire, then it's also preparing you to get to that stage.
Okay. I think we've come right to the end of this program, but I do want you, Vux, to also share how people they can get hold of you if they wanted specific advice in terms of your work. But before we do that. Now, I'm concerned about this person who feels already. I'm not saying Tembisile and Kambule is in that case, but I'll just make an example. Who feels that I'm already 50 or 55 or 52, whatever the case may be, and they feel, man, I'm so worried now that I haven't done enough saving, and I need to catch up and all of that. unfortunately, maybe they still have health, they still have work. What kind of conversations must they have with a financial advisor?
Maybe
It's a,
before
it's a,
Vux
it's a,
comes in.
it's, okay.
Sorry, Vux. I was going to say, Pat,
Mm.
if you haven't prepared well and you realize you're 55, obviously your runway is shortened, unfortunately, right? And maybe you cannot afford to retire. That's basic. That's a fact. You're not going to retire. And you will do all sorts of things. Maybe give some attend here and there, but that's what it will be. There's nothing wrong. I'm not being negative about it. I'm saying you'll just continue working until 70 or even older than that. And but the one advice, and not an advice as a financial one, but like, do not go for these rich quick schemes where the little bit you've got, you go and give it to somebody who says he's going to put up a mall here, and then the returns will be double-digit returns. If it's gone, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. That's it. Where now, that's all. Government. There's no other way. You know what I'm saying? So don't do that. Don't buy a taxi, or don't go and buy a combi. So tutabandwana baseskolweni, or maybe that's something that you'd like to do. Wake up in the morning, drive them. Maybe you already have this transport. There's nothing wrong with that. You're trying to make ends meet. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So for me, if you woke up late, don't despair. Do a disciplined thing through your financial advisor of how much can be done now, but then fix it in your mind that unfortunately, beyond your prescribed retirement age at the place of work, you may have to look at other things. And there's lots of things, like being entrepreneurial. Even if you are in a formal employment, guys, if you invested in something that's easy to understand, let's say a retail something, a Voda shop or some, I'm just making an example. Where you go and make yourself useful there, even if they don't pay you, but you've got a stake in there, and then you go and play golf in the afternoon if you play golf. But I'm just saying, do something with your advisor, however little time you've got, but then know that you may have to go beyond the 60, 65. And because you didn't inherit anything, you can't be a trust fund child. There's nothing you're going to have to work, unfortunately. So I'm just trying to say, don't yearn for retirement because you ain't going to afford it. Seeing that you did not. I mean, nobody else did it. You did not, Either you did not have employment for a long time, or whatever. But if there's little in the kitty, Pat, try and don't be risky about it. And I was taught way back as well that you want to, let's say, gamble, if there has to be an amount that you and Vux have agreed that we need these investments in order to yield X post-retirement. If there's extra money, then that's the money you can gamble with, cryptocurrency, or you go and do other funny things. But don't bet the farm. That's all I'm saying. Don't take that is core and then gamble with it. Don't, And like you said,
You find that the person who has been in finance all along his whole life, suddenly he goes to something else and invest. His money has nothing that he can contribute. He doesn't know anything about that. Sure.
You look at the trends now. Fintech is another way, maybe, if you think, but the older you become, run away from risky assets, that's all, or investments. The older you become, and then like Uvuk said, moderate, which is moderate risk, but we know that equities will always outperform bonds. But the very important thing is that as you get older, they change your portfolio. It's called lifestyle, whatever, life cycle, whatever, and then they put you in the appropriate portfolios. So try and stick to your knitting and do what you understand. Now, don't try and, renewable energy if you don't know it. Basically.
All right, Vooks, I just want to know, what kind of conversations must the person have with their financial advisor? Let's say a person says, man, I haven't had my own conversations in the last 2 years because of COVID, whatever the case may be. What are the key issues that we should always keep in touch when we're talking to our financial advisors? And secondly, how can people get hold of you? What kind of products or services do you provide that people can talk to you about?
The first question that you asked earlier on, before Mr. Mvusi responded, the question was, what kind of conversation would we have if you're about 50 already and above? And
Yes.
I kept that in mind for the simple reason that when you're that age, the first thing that you need to do is important. Like he said, speak to the financial advisor. But what you're talking about with a financial advisor is having a comprehensive financial analysis. And I want to repeat that, the comprehensive, not just any analysis, a comprehensive one. Comprehensive in the sense that you look at every aspect of your expenses, of your financials and everything. That will include your insurances and everything, because there you're budgeting. You will find and be very tight on that, with the major focus on that one, because that's where you find these little monies that you're paying that you not taking note of. That in fact I've got this money that I'm not supposed to even be using there. I should be using it towards planning my marriage. Because when you're 50, it should be the major thing that you're focusing on. I'm settling my bond, and then I'm preparing for my retirement, and how much do I have? So that's the kind of conversation that I would like every individual at that age conversation to have. And it goes back, same answer after COVID. And it would be unfortunate that during COVID itself, your advisor, you did not have that conversation, because we meant to have these conversations biannually with the clients, because there are changes. So even during COVID, we should have had those kind of conversation. Unfortunately, did not have, for whatever reason. But now you're going back. Look, let's talk. Here's my situation. But the biggest problem is that we're not honest and open with our situations. There are certain things that we hide when you're talking to a financial advisor. And Mr. Mvusi mentioned earlier on that you buy this, you come to me as your financial advisor. I'm driving a smaller car than yours. You're driving a Range Rover. And out of this Range Rover, you find that plus minus 30% of it, it's a balloon payment, and you don't want me to know those things. You see, you don't want me to know those things, but how am I going to assist if you don't tell me that? But the problem is, there's a problem of trust there, because you prefer talking to someone that you're not going to see in any way, except when you have an appointment in the office. But it's very important that when you're sitting with your advisor, be honest and open about it. And I think even financial advisors, maybe before, but now, there's the government is enforcing the issue of trust and confidentiality. So have that conversation, but be open about it, because I'm not going to tell you everything. Because if you go to the doctor and say to the doctor, I'm sick, the first thing that the doctor will ask, what are you feeling? Where's the pain? But if you've got a stomach ache and then you say you've got a headache, the doctor's not going to cure you. You're going to leave that place sick. So give all the information that is required, that the advisor will ask, including your income, because I'm only asking for your income because I want to know how much you're earning, and therefore when we're planning, I know exactly the boundaries that we're having. But the challenge that is that sometimes we expect advisors to play the miracle, and we don't give them the information. So give the information, all the information. Here is my situation. I've got this challenge, and at home, this is my spouse, this is the income that is getting, and these are my responsibilities. And now here is my vision. This is what I would like to have at a certain time. Then we start having that conversation. But those conversations must be ongoing, at least annually. Yeah, that's my take on that one. And then you asked me about about the where you can find me. First of all, you can find me on the Salam website, and secondly, Vukile Sotlongwana, you can call me. I mean, can use my because this the website, you also get my email address. But the important thing is that you can SMS me or WhatsApp me at 082 490 yeah, through via WhatsApp. But everything else is you can find it on the Salam website.
Okay, all right. Gentlemen, I really would like to appreciate the time that you spent educating the nation. This video is going to be here forever. People will come here and learn and learn. 5 years from now, my own children will come and learn from this. But it really is. We're going to have more conversation when I put Gaba. I deal a lot with men. I'm a coach also, but who coaches men. So I will invite so that you come and talk to guys about this matter, because from also the research that I read, I realized that a lot of the stock fails and the savings that take place, it's more women that do that. Guys, we just think this is a woman thing. I don't even want to be talking to an advisor. Why am I going to get another person to advise me on my own finances? There's a culture change that needs to take place. So we're going to keep coming to talk to you guys about these matters. And I really want to appreciate the investment that you've made, not just in this program, but in the nation and in the people that are going to be looking. So I'll give you the last few words, and then I'll start with Mr. Sodlongwana, and then let you finish. We can't go telling Ngoboko and Jengekwahla when I put Gab. And then after that, you complete it. Folks?
Yes. Look, I am for. I don't know. I don't know why is men, because men we focus on other things in terms of, I think, for social reasons, and it's a social investment. I mean, like Mikalelo, as I understand it. Yeah, when they meet, do that. Hence, the focus is mainly on groceries, because they've took it upon themselves that I must take care of my family. They must eat and this, and come December, that's how they're planning. And most of the time, men will plan for holidays, where we're going and all that. Hence, you'll find that. But personally, but that's a discussion for another day. That how do I feel about it? What's my take on it? Because if we talk about risk, the only question that I always ask, because I'm very skeptical about risk, anything that has risk involved. You putting 500 rand to this every month, Galelo, you're paying that one and paying that one. Now, as long as, for me, in the event of one of the members passes on during that year, one of the members passes on, you've already paid to that person, say 6,000 rand, and that person, when it's your turn, must pay you back 6,000 rand. If that 6,000 rand is gonna pay, is gonna be payable to you, even if that person is dead, then I'm comfortable with Galelo. But the only challenge is that I always say, also cover that risk. But I understand that we do, most of the time they do it for social reasons. Then it's fine. So I don't have much. I've got nothing against it, but I still feel that's one of the high risk that we're taking as a society, but we're not looking at it that way, because it's a social activity.
Yeah, kuyaculwa kube mnandi kutyiwe ilunch kuthweni. Maybe that's the purpose of it. We'll have a conversation on it at another time. Put Gaba.
Yeah, thanks, man, Pat. This was, I think, as some people also comment here, it's a very, very important topic. I saw Nomchana Wampa Umini saying people don't understand how to use debt. Debt is good. I'm not saying debt is bad, but as long as you're leveraging it, it's got to create more opportunities than just consumption. That's bad. If you're leveraging and you're preparing for retirement and say, hey, maybe let me go into this type of, it's a construction thing or whatever, but then that's fine. Then the bank will back you, or and that's fine. But for me, I think we must just understand, maybe let us be, if the people my age here or even younger, then like, be the generation that starts this thing, because our parents couldn't. Things were tough for them, we all know that. And things are still tough with us. But I don't like this thing of quickly hiding behind the black tax issue. It is there, it is a reality, but let's try and manage those things within the means. I mean, you can't, really, I don't know. I don't want to sound, I mean, there's stuff that you can be engaging in a family, responsible procreation, who's going to do what, when, now. Is it because the state pays for these kids, or whatever? What's going to happen to all of this? Let's have these conversations. That's something that maybe I would encourage you through your platform, so that we open and learn from other nations how they did what they did, particularly the Afrikaners. It's amazing. They came from the similar patterns of poverty back in the day, after the Anglo-Boer War, and also after the Second World War, and so on, but came into power here in 1948 in South Africa. But they knew what they wanted to do. They still are like that even today. They go and shop at Mr. Price, and Mr. Price is their top of the range, because sebevela kwaPep and elsewhere. And nasemacro bayafaka pha, exactly. And we'll now, but that's the reality, guys. Let us.
I agree.
I'm sure
I agree.
some who saw this as those WhatsApp zithunyelwayo. This guy uhleli nge-oros yakhe apha, uxhome ihempe kamaXhosa apha 6,000 rand. Ugade yona apha. And I can understand, because ubangayoneka iyeke phaya imkile lokishini, which means there he buys one piece of clothing worth 6,000 rand, one, and then ahlala apha the-oros agade lento imini yonke. I mean, chaps, guys, we can't, man. No. All we come from deprivation, but it starts with us now. Siyayazi ngoku, masingabe siphinda-phinde bi-apartheid yasithini ngoku. What are we doing now, Tina? Take our own destiny in our own hands. It is all up to us. That's all I can say, Ben.
Yo, wow. Let me thank you so much. I see Piwe Mieza. Sorry, Atela folks. Okay, thought you. I see.
No. I was just saying that was mouthful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well said, Piwe Mieza. Thank you so much, Sisi. Sanelisi Wenchangase, good to hear from you, because you're saying great insights in very informative session. Appreciate that. And everybody else who managed to watch this video. And I'd like to encourage all of you who are watching to do what Sisbatolile Zwane has done, which is to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and so that we can have these conversations that you can go to even when you're taking lunch from work. I met a person yesterday at church, and she said to me, hey, I watch these programs, and she's into energy and so on. And so what I'm trying to say is that these platforms are here to transform the nation, to inspire, to create insight, and to help us grow in all areas of life. We care about our families, about our health, about our finances, about everything that makes the Black nation and the people of South Africa have to now take another level. We need to be the first ones to do things differently. So we're really appreciative to all of you for watching. Thank you so much to my guests. All the rest, enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for introducing me to Vooks as well.
No, thanks. Thanks, Vooks. Bye.
All right. Cheers. Guys, those of you who are watching, thank you so much for your time. And as I say, please don't leave without going and doing a subscription. Just click there. We need more numbers. If we could have something like 10,000 at the end of this year, that would be great. So please go there and subscribe. Thank you so much. Enjoy the afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Boot. Appreciate it. All right. Val, thank you for joining. Sis Bucks, thank you. Nini, good to see you. Temsila, thank you to all of you and those that I haven't mentioned. Thank you, appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye. You feel free also to suggest items that we can deal with. You can just send me a message on my messenger on Facebook, Patrick Gulati, and then we can take it from there. If you want to come and appear on this show, this is for everybody, as long as you've got something that you can add value with to people. Thank you. Over and out. Bye-bye.